Well, good morning, my people. It is your boy VRD, and we are back for another Train Sim World 4 commentated drive. And in today's video, we are going to be going over the final. We're going to be doing the final commentated run on this southern section of the Birmingham Cross City line. So we're going to be driving back to Redditch from Kings Norton, and then after that, I need to learn the section of track between, I'd say, Kings Norton and Birmingham New Street. Then I'll probably cover that. I'll most likely do a complete run all the way from Redditch to Birmingham New Street, or Bromsgrove to New Street, or whatever. So yeah, our train's due in at 7:39, so we've got a 6 minute wait, if I can count. Yep, 6 minute wait. I will catch you guys in a bit. I'm gonna edit down the video now, and yeah, catch you guys when the train arrives. Okay, our train is here. Free carriage class 323. We're gonna make our way up along the platform now and get set up and try to get a move on relatively quickly because the timetable is quite tight on this. So yeah, I don't want to be hanging about for too long. As soon as the train comes to a stand, open the door, enter the cab, wait for the driver to open the doors, sit in the seat, take command of the service. Set the driver reminder appliance, move the power brake controller into brake step 3 straight away, move the F&R switch into the off position, remove the master key. Now I'm going to cross over to the other side of the cab, turn the vigilance isolation switch and the AWS isolation switches into the vertical normal positions. So I've said this a lot of times, but second switch from the bottom and second switch from the top. Now I'm going to return to the seat, reinsert the master key and move the F&R switch back into the neutral position and acknowledge the AWS self-test sequence by pressing the AWS reset button, also known as the AWS acknowledgement button, whatever you want to call it. Insert your door key switch and turn it into the on position, and press the registration button on the GSMR interface handset thing. As you can see, our head code has popped up there, 2 Romeo 09, which is the Lichfield Trent Valley service to Redditch. We're going to be calling out Northfields, Longbridge, Barnt Green, Church, and finally Redditch. Headlights are currently in the night running position, but I'm just going to switch those over into the day running configuration because it is daytime now. I'm going to come outside and check that that is being displayed correctly, which it is. And we have a green signal, so I'm going to get the doors closed. Pressing the door close button there. Looking back along the platform as the doors close. Just like so. I can't really see nothing. Yeah, I think it's alright. Closing the cab door, sitting in the driver's seat, taking a final glance at the signal, green, resetting the driver reminder appliance, gonna open the window there. We're on an uphill gradient departing from Kings Norton here, so I'm gonna use the hill start button to move off. So I've selected forward on the F&R switch, I'm holding in the hill start button, selecting the off position on the power brake controller and still holding in the hill start button. We should have a reading of 1 bar on the brake cylinder gauge. 1.5 bar, whatever. Now I'm going to select power notch 1, wait for about a second, release the hill start button, brake cylinder gauge reading falls to 0 and the train begins to move off. And we just look back along the train as we pull off to ensure that no one's being dragged along with us, because we don't want a manslaughter charge. I'm going to up the power to notch 2. And again, I've said this a lot of times, but if you haven't seen any of my other videos, it's currently November, so we're in the height of the leaf fall season, so the track is going to be a lot more slippery than it would normally be. So because of that, I'm being a lot more gentle in the acceleration. I'm avoiding going into notch 4 until we get to about 25, between 25 and 30 miles an hour. Around there is where you want to go up to notch 4. And then, yeah, before getting up to there, just gradually step it up. Speed limit is 70 miles an hour, departing from Kings Norton in the southbound direction. Next station is Northfields. Let me make sure that my phone's on silent. Yes, it is. In the distance you can see we have a double yellow signal coming up, and that tells us that in 2 signal spaces time we can expect a red signal. Acknowledging the audible AWS warning for that now. And we're up to 70 miles an hour, so I've shut off the power. And around here I'm going to make a brake step 1 application for Northfield Station, so shortly before passing beneath that overbridge I'd say is a good place to get your brakes in. I'm going to up that to brake step 2 because I left it a bit too late. I'm still getting used to this route. It's very difficult to judge some of the braking points, but we're just aiming for an entry speed of 30 miles an hour here, which we accomplished. So I've gone down to brake step 1, acknowledging the AWS alert for the single yellow signal at the end of the platform. And single yellow signal means that in 1 signal space's time we can expect a red signal. So the sequence is double yellow, single yellow, red. So I just momentarily release the brakes back into brake step 1, releasing, brake step 1, releasing, brake step 1 to come to a stand with the stop board in the window. Brake step 3, neutral, and we have a door release on the left. And we are 1 minute late, which isn't too bad. So the red signal is currently at the end of the platform at the next station, which is Longbridge. The signals are very spaced out on this route for some reason. So what I'm going to do after departing from here is remain in power notch 2, just so we don't accelerate too quickly and start daydreaming and forgetting that we have a red signal coming up. So I'll maintain power notch 2 until we get to the braking point for the next station. Then I'll slow down for that and enter that station at a reduced speed due to the fact that there is a red signal at the end of the platform. Looking back along the platform, checking the signal again, pressing the door close button. Doors have closed. Final glance at the signal, FNR switch into forward, and we're on an upward gradient still, so I'm gonna use the hill start button to move off again. Just looking back along the platform again, it's fine to me. Close the door, up to notch 2 of power. Close the window, I meant, not the door. And like I said, we have a single yellow signal, so gonna remain in power notch 2 until we reach the braking point for Longbridge Station. Excuse me, I need to blow my nose very badly, but I'm gonna firm it, or I'll do it when we stop, then I can edit it out. Right, so we're coming up on a warning board for a reduction in the speed limit. Just acknowledging the AWS warning for that now. We're coming up on a warning board for a reduction in the speed limit down to 45 miles an hour, and that speed limit commences just before the platform at Longbridge Station. The braking point for Longbridge Station, I'd say, is so this sort of structure that we're passing beneath now, that gantry. I'd say give it about 10 seconds after passing that, and then make a brake step 1 application, and that should bring you into Longbridge on a decent deceleration curve, providing that you departed from Northfields on in power notch 2. And if you're driving any service in this direction, I believe you would depart on a single yellow signal. So yeah, that is the technique for coming into Longbridge Station. And I just used brake step 1 to reduce our speed down to 20 miles an hour before passing over the AWS magnet associated with the red signal at the end of the platform, and that has just changed to a green aspect now, but it was red when we passed over the AWS magnet, hence the audible indication, the audible alert. And again, just using some bursts of brake step 1 to come to a stand with the stop board in the window. We're at a stand, brake step 3, neutral, door release on the left. Right, we have a green signal and we're running quite late. I need to stop hanging about at these stations for so long. Looking back along the platform, pressing the door close button, and you can see our signal has position 4 junction indication, telling us that we are being routed over this crossover onto the track to our right. So speed limit for that move is 20 miles an hour, as that board there tells us. A bit hard to make out, but you'll see it when we get closer to the signal. Doors have closed. Final glance at the signal, and we're still on an upward gradient, so I'm gonna move off using the whole start button again, just like so. Also should probably look back as we move off. If it's the look back isn't as important if the platform isn't too crowded, but I still try to do it every time I'm moving off. But it's normally when you have crowded platforms that you want to be performing the look back. So if someone's being dragged along the train, you're gonna like it's just more logical to do it that way. I'm not gonna bother trying to overheat my brain explaining that when it's common sense. So yeah, speed limit for the crossover was 20 miles an hour. You may have saw the board with the number 20 in it and an arrow pointing to the right, telling us that speed limit for this move is 20 miles an hour. And once we become clear of that crossover, which we most certainly are by now because we're only 3 carriages long, the speed limit will be increasing to 90 miles an hour. So I'm gonna accelerate up to that now. And in about I want to say 3 signal spaces time, we're going to be routed off of the track that we're currently on onto the branch down to Redditch. I think it's 3 signal spaces time. So the next signal that we're going to come across is probably going to be a double yellow signal. That is due to the fact that the signal protecting the turnout onto the branch down to Redditch is going to be held at a red aspect until we reduce our speed down to a certain level, and that is because the speed limit for that turnout is 15 miles an hour. So I did explain this in one of my other videos. Yeah, you can see the double yellow signal coming up now. Yeah, when you have a low speed turnout and you're entering that turnout from a high speed line, you're most likely going to get brought down to a red signal just as a safety precaution. So I continued to accelerate a bit after passing that single yellow signal, but I've shut off the power now. I'm now going to make a brake step 1 application. I think I called it a single yellow signal by mistake, but I meant double yellow signal. This is the single yellow signal coming up now. And I'd say 70 miles an hour is a decent speed to be passing that with a brake step 1 application in. That should bring you down for the following red signal on a decent deceleration curve. Always aim to be doing 20 miles an hour passing over the AWS magnet for red signals. So you can just about see the red signal coming up in the distance now. Down to 30 miles an hour. Down to 20 miles an hour, so I'm releasing the brakes, and you can see the AWS magnet coming up in the distance there. Once we pass over that AWS magnet, the signal should immediately change with a position 1 junction indication, but we're not going to assume it's going to do that, but I'm fairly certain that's what it's going to do. Yep, there we go. So I'm going to select power notch 3 and accelerate up to about 25 or 30 miles an hour. Then I'm gonna make a brake step 1 application to decelerate for the turnout. Turnout has a speed limit of 15 miles an hour. Accidentally applied the brakes there for a sec. I was meant to shut off the power. So I can see the turnout coming up now and the associated speed board. So I've made a brake step 1 application to slow us down. We're still on an upward gradient, but we're about to hit the summit for that. Down to 15 miles an hour. And here we are entering Barnt Green Station. Stopping position for 3 carriage trains at Barnt Green in this direction is towards the end of the platform, but not right at the end. The 3 carriage and 6 carriage stopping positions are separate. Gonna start getting some brake step 1 bursts in there. Can see the 3 carriage stop board coming up now, just behind this off indication here. So I'm just trying to get some brake step 1 bursts in there to bring us to a nice and controlled stop. There we go, perfect. Brake step 3, neutral, door release on the left. And we're now 2 minutes late. That's just down to me driving over cautiously, and what else, because I'm taking long to depart from the stations as well. But yeah, if you're driving this in good track conditions, then you'd want to be driving a bit more aggressively, but I'm just being a bit more laid back with it. Green signal at the end of the platform. Looking back along the platform, pressing the door close button. Doors have closed. Final glance at the signal. F&R switch into forward, and we're now on a downward gradient, so I'm not going to use the whole start button. Just going to release the brakes and select power notch 1 when the brake cylinder gauge reading falls below 1 bar. Looking back along the platform, a final time. And I'm going to shut off the power at 10 miles an hour, and gravity should bring us up to 15 miles an hour. The reason why you want to do that is it just stops you having to apply the brakes straight away after shutting off the power, because that's a bit uncomfortable for the passengers. If you shut off 5 miles an hour before the speed limit on a downward gradient, you just have a bit of time where you're letting gravity do its thing to bring you up to the speed limit. Then that's when you get your brake application in, like I did just now. Brought us back down to 10 miles an hour, then rinse and repeat. I don't know, sometimes if you've traveled on a train and you can feel it constantly accelerating and stopping, and then like you can feel like these constant short bursts of acceleration, and you're traveling at low speed, it's most likely because it's going up a hill. And then the opposite of that, if you feel constant short bursts of braking at low speed, it's most likely because it's going down a hill. So the driver's just trying to either maintain the speed or not break the speed limit. So we just passed a board with the number 40 on it. So once the full length of our train has cleared that board, we can accelerate up to 40 miles an hour. So I'm going to select power notch 2. I'm going to accelerate up to 30 miles an hour, and then I'm just going to shut off the power and let gravity bring us up to 40. We're on quite a steep downward gradient, so we can just save a bit of energy, electricity, by allowing gravity to aid our acceleration a bit. And once again, it's more comfortable for the passengers. Even though you're only saving a tiny bit of electricity by doing this right now, but if you constantly drive like that, and if every other driver on the network was driving like this, like, imagine over time that's gonna add up. You're gonna save some serious amounts of electricity, which is helpful in the current circumstances of the world. So just use the burst of brake step 1 there to bring us down to about 32 miles an hour or so, then releasing, and again just gonna let gravity bring us back up to 40. What I'm looking out for is the point where this single section of track splits into a double track, and that is where I'm going to make my brake application for Wolf Church Station. Going to use another burst of brake, step 1 there, releasing, and I don't think we're too far out from Wolf Church Station, so I haven't decelerated too much, just down to 35. Just looking out for the point work, there it is. So brake step 1, when I have an entry speed of about between 20 and 25 miles an hour coming into Wolf Church here. Stopping position for 3 carriage trains is midway along the platform, so you don't want to be entering too fast. Can see the stop board coming up now. We almost managed to stop in the right place with just one brake step 1 application, which would have been absolutely epic, especially considering I'm recording. But no, that would have been too good to be true, so I had to momentarily release the brakes, then go back into brake step 1 to stop us in the correct position. Yeah, brake step 3, neutral, door release on the left, and we are 4 minutes late. Oh blimey. Yeah, you need to drive very aggressively to keep to time on this. You almost have to drive like some sort of underground driver. The London Underground, they drive absolutely aggressively. This is ridiculous how aggressive they drive. But it makes sense because of this high frequency of trains and all of that. Yeah. Anyway, looking back along the platform, do we have a platform starter signal? No, we don't, but our AWS visual indication is blank, so we know that the last signal that we passed was a green aspect. If that was showing a cautionary indication and I couldn't remember the aspect of the last signal that we passed, I'd have to assume that the next signal is red, so I'd have to use only power notch 2 and accelerate up to about 20 or 25 miles an hour until I can see the aspect of the next signal, but we don't need to do that. Doors have closed. Looking back along the platform, F&R switching to forward, and we're still on the downward gradient here, so I'm gonna just depart normally without the hill start button. So final look back, closing the window, up to notch 2. Speed limit is still 40 miles an hour, but will shortly be increasing to 70 miles an hour. Gonna up it to notch 3. Just delaying the selection of power notch 4 just to ensure that we don't break the 40 mile an hour speed limit. And we're now clear of the 70 boards, so speed limit is now 70 miles an hour. So I've now gone into notch 4 of power. Speed limit will shortly be reducing to 60 miles an hour very briefly. Then it will go back up to 70 very briefly. Then it will come back down to 50 very briefly. It makes no sense. I don't know why it's like that. But what I normally do is just accelerate up to 70, then get a brake step 1 application in straight away and decelerate down to 60 miles an hour. So I've done that now. You can see the 60 board coming up. And that 60 mile an hour speed limit is literally for the shortest section of track. You can see the 70 board coming up now. So speed limit has gone back up to 70 miles an hour. I'm probably only going to accelerate up to 65 miles an hour. To be honest, there's no need to even accelerate at this point, but I'm just trying to claw back a bit of time. Now that we're up to 65, I'm going to make a brake step 1 application and decelerate down to 50 miles an hour. Just like so. You can see the 50 board coming up, acknowledging an AWS alert regarding that warning board for a reduction in the speed limit down to 30 miles an hour, and there was a speed board on top of that telling us that the speed limit has gone back up to 70 miles an hour. So I've gone back into notch 4 of power. I'm going to begin accelerating towards 70, but I'm not going to actually get up to 70 because we need to keep in mind that the speed limit is going to be reducing to 30 miles an hour. So I'd say around here, as you turn onto this straight section of track, get your brake step 1 application in. That should bring you down for the 30 mile an hour speed limit on a decent deceleration curve. Just looking at the time now because I have got work in 2 hours. So the 30 board is just at the end of this straight section of track. So releasing the brakes now. And we're now gonna be on a very steep climb into Redditch station. So I'm gonna need to use notch 2 of power to maintain 30 miles an hour. We acknowledged an audible AWS alert regarding that. That's called a fixed distance signal. So that is used to tell you that you're approaching the end of the line. I'm not sure if you saw, there was like a board with a horizontal yellow band in it. Yeah, that's known as a fixed distance signal. Sometimes you can just have a standard yellow signal that will be held at a yellow aspect, but in this case it was a board with a yellow band on it. They mean the same thing, just to let you know that you're coming up to the end of the line. So just using notch 2 of power to maintain 30 miles an hour, but I'm now gonna shut off the power and begin to let our speed decelerate. This left hand curve here is a good point of reference for you to use to know that you're approaching Redditch station, and the platform is coming up now. So I'm gonna use a burst of brake step 1 to bring us down to 15. Always enter a dead end platform at no faster than 15 miles an hour. And then at about midway along a dead end platform, reduce your speed to 10 miles an hour. Because as you can see, we've got some TPWS grids in the track. If you pass over those at faster than, I think it's 12 and a half miles an hour, but always do no faster than 10 going over them just in case. But I do think it is 12 and a half miles an hour. If you pass over them doing faster than that, then you're going to get an emergency brake application, which is embarrassing. Just going to use some final bursts of brake step 1 to come to a nice and controlled stop. I'm going to try my best to stop with the stop boards in the window, but our momentum, okay, no, we made it. Yeah, I thought our momentum was going to die off there because it's a very steep uphill all the way into Redditch. So yeah, but no, we made it. Now that we're at a stand, brake step 3, neutral, setting the DRA because we're at a dead end, and door release on the left very quickly before our passengers start panicking. Turning the tail light switch on, turning off the headlight switch. F and R switch goes into the off position, removing the master key, removing the door key switch, and turning the AWS vigilance isolation switches into the horizontal isolated positions, and exiting the cab. And that concludes this commentated run. I'd like to thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. Constructive feedback and criticism is more than welcome in the comment section below and is highly appreciated. If you'd like to further support the channel, please consider liking and subscribing. I will catch you guys in the next one. Love.